Hello everyone, I am Jack and I'm back, and let me show you where I'm at. All right, first off, if you are a paint and body guy, go away. You won't like what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it. For the rest of you, here's what I'm working on. So the back of the car, the part that you now see is black, was raw fiberglass. And so it had pinholes, it had pits, it had all kinds of things. So I needed to get the surface level. Now I did have to fix this side to match that side, so this side has body filler on it. The rest of it, other than this area right here, does not have any body filler on it. So what I did was I got gel coat and I put gel coat on it. I put it on with a chip brush, which is not the greatest because it leaves a surface that looks like this with a lot of brush marks. But I knew that one, this would not be the final layer, and then two, I guess that's it. It's going to have to be sanded, and I'm using 60 grit to sand it. So that's what it looks like there. I had this back area close, but there was a couple low spots here and there, and a couple spots where I had sanded through. So I said, I'll just put another coat of gel coat on and not sand through. Well, you can see that didn't work. I sanded through right there. But what I did was I sanded it with 60 grit to get the brush marks out. Now, ideally, it's just going to knock down the high spots. I'm still going to have the gel coat thickness on top of it. But again, I somehow managed to sand through. All I want to do at this point is I want to get it to where I can see how straight or unstraight the body is, because I didn't do the fiberglass work, Duntov did, and I can see they didn't do the greatest job. So I've got to fix it. So what I did was I ran an experiment. I took the back deck, sanded it smooth, and just to get some bite to it, and then I put the gel coat on it. Ideally, it would have been great if I didn't sand through it all, but you can see I sanded through in quite a few spots. So what you see here is the orange is the factory color. The black that you see right there is the primer from the factory. So you can see there's the brighter orange, there's a little bit reddish orange, and then there's that's either the black, or if it's got a rough surface, it is the actual SMC, sheet metal compound. Then the white is what we painted on top of the factory orange when we did the first version of this car. Then I did not put any white gel coat on this. So those are the layers that are on here. So I put the gel coat on with the brush, just like I did here. I did get it a bit smoother than this, but it still had a lot of brush marks. So I used a 60 grit to get it down to where the surface is flat. And again, I ended up sanding through in a few spots. But what I wanted to do was get enough gloss on it so that I could look for surface irregularities. I'm not looking for defects. Those are easy to see. I'm looking for surface irregularities. In other words, a wavy surface. In order for me to see that, I need a little bit of gloss. So this is what it looks like with the 60 grit. Actually, this is 60 grit with some other work. But I can't tell from this what the surface really looks like. So I was running an experiment. So I took it, and this area right here is 60 grit. Then I hit it with 600 grit and a little bit of polish. And the idea was, can I do that? That's the minimum amount of steps, and can I get it to where I can tell what the surface looks like? Maybe some of you that are paint and body guys can. I can't tell squat from that. So then what I did in the center section, I said, all right, 60 grit's too coarse. Why don't I go ahead and hit it with 120 grit? So I did it right here, sanded it with 60 grit first to get it flat, and then I hit it with 120 grit to get rid of the scratch marks that you see from the 60 grit. Then I did the 600 grit real quick and the polish real quick. I use rubbing compound. All right, it looks better than that, but I still can't quite see. I mean, I can if I get it just the right angle, but I'd rather have something that looks better than that. So then I came over here, and this is, I'm trying to remember, I think this one over here is the 220. Yeah. So I sanded this with 220 to see what I could get, and then did the 600 and the polish. And this is a level that where now it's starting to reflect a little bit of light, and I can see waves in the surface. Then as a final comparison, I came over here and did this one with 320, and then the 600 and the polish. And this one has a nice gloss to it, but there's not a huge difference between this 320 and that 220. So I decided that my process is going to be sand it with the 60 grit, sand it with the 220, then the 600, and then polish it enough that I can see what the surface looks like. The result of that is over here. Now, I was rushing it, so I didn't get all of the 600 sanding marks out of it. Again, my idea was, let's just get an idea of what the surface looks like. What I wanted to do is see, as you go down this side, how wavy is this thing. So if I come down here and get it the right angle, and I'm not sure if we can see it from here, but I can see it in person. So as I look down this side right here, it really doesn't look bad. There is a spot right here. There's a bit of a bump right there, so that'll have to be sanded flat. Again, I'll use a sanding board with a coarse grit to run and get the high spots off of this. But I just needed to know how bad was it. And so the answer there for this top part is, it's not really that bad. I mean, it's not perfect, of course. Now, if you go down to this area right here, it's kind of wavy. Let me see if I can get to where you can see it. Yeah, see, there's a spot right there. Yeah, so if you look down this, you can see it's pretty wavy. And again, in person, I can see it really well. If I had some lights, fluorescent lights, you could see it even better by using the fluorescent lights. But you can see that at some point, this is going to need a flat board taken across it. The other thing I wanted to see was how straight is this body line right here, and then how straight is this line right here. So that's my goal. My goal is to get it to where it's what I call a 20-footer. So from 20 foot away, if it weren't for all these spots that I sanded through, that's the other thing. I know I sanded through, so I'm going to have to put another coat of black on here to cover up the sanded through areas anyway. So let's see what it looks like from over here. Yeah, and it doesn't reflect as well this direction, and it's because it's dark back there. Maybe if I turn on the shop lights, you could see it better. But that's the first step, and then what I need to do is roughen this up. Now that it's got the 600 and the polish, that's going to be too fine of a surface for another layer of gel coat to stick, so I'm going to have to roughen it up. And again, I'll flatten some of those areas at the same time now that I know where they're at. So what I'm going to do, I've got markers here. I've actually got a silver marker. So what I'll do is come up here. I will identify those spots that are wavy, and I'll circle them with a marker, and then I put hash marks, and then I sand until the hash marks are gone. Not perfect, but again, better. I'm either going to send it out to have this painted. I can't paint here, I'm not allowed to spray. So I'll either send it out and have it painted, in which case I will tell them to fix anything that they see, or I'm going to get it wrapped, one of the two. I've decided that it's just too hard to get this gel coat to where it's perfect and I'm not sanding through anywhere. So the other side, so this back area right here, you can see it's pretty rough. I had spots where the gel coat wouldn't cure. Otherwise, I would just use the gel coat and I would roll it on or paint it with a better brush. I did get better brushes. But what I found out is if I get it too thin, it won't cure. Even though it has wax in the gel coat and it's supposed to cure, it needs a minimum film thickness or it won't cure. So what would happen is there are several areas here when I sand, if it's cured, it turns white. You can see right there, it turns white when it's sanded. If it's not completely cured, it smears. I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah, look here. See, it didn't turn white, but it smeared, which means it wasn't cured enough. So what I did was I sprayed PVA over the whole thing. And what that does is it blocks the oxygen, because gel coat cures through lack of oxygen. So that should have allowed the gel coat to cure. I'll know when I try to sand it whether or not that worked or not. But this is what it looks like with the gel coat. And again, I'm going to hit that with 60 grit. I'm sure I will sand through in spaces, but again, it's not a big deal because I never intended this to be the last layer. And again, I bought some much better brushes. I will try that after I sand this smooth. I'll try that, see what I get. For reference, let's see, I probably have an hour of sanding on that back deck, maybe, but that's because I was going through all the testing and all that stuff. I have 2 hours, I timed it, I've right at 2 hours on this side, sanding it with 60 grit and then doing the other work. And that's just this area right here. I hit the fender flares, but I only hit them with 60 grit. I did not do any of the polish because, again, I was kind of experimenting to see what's going to happen. And then this bottom area, I covered with gel coat, but I have not gone and sanded it. But you can see I did do a better job of getting the gel coat smooth here. That's not nearly as rough of a surface as the other side. And so what I've learned is that it's worth the extra effort and brushes to get it as smooth as I can before I start sanding. All right, that's pretty much all I've got. So today is going to be more sanding. So I've got the 60 grit and my DA sander. So I'm going to go over to this other side and start sanding on it. And again, like I said, it should take about, I'll time it, but it should take about 2 hours to knock the high spots down and see where I'm at, see where the defects are, and then see how wavy the surface is. Now, of course, I won't be able to see how wavy the surface is with the 60 grit, so I'll have to do the 220 and the polish for me personally to see that. I wish I was better at recognizing that stuff, but I'm not. I know my limitations. And again, I'm not a paint and body guy. What I'm trying to do is, one of my previous cars, in fact, it was one of the first cars I did from scratch. I got it to where it was the basic shape I wanted. And then I took it to a body shop and said, okay, here's the basic shape, but I need it to look nice. And they bid 1,000 hours to get it to look nice from where I was at. Even at 50 bucks an hour, that's a lot of money. That was past my budget for the whole car, including the purchase price of the car. It was a C5, yeah, C5 Corvette that I had done. So I said, all right, next time I do a car, I've got to get it to a nice enough level to where it's not going to be 1,000 hours. That's my goal here. I just want to get it nice enough that, you know, it's going to cost me a reasonable amount to get it from what I hand to them to a finished car. In this case, like I said, I likely will just get it to where it's flat enough and good enough to have it wrapped. And that I can do myself. I can probably get, I actually have done that, not wrapped, but I actually had a car painted. I did all of the body work myself, took it, just had them shoot the paint. It came out great. And I told them to fix minor defects. I should have put a guide coat on it. All of the stuff that I worked on looked great, but the doors, the previous owner had done the doors and he missed a couple of door dings. And so when the car was done, it looked stunning, with the exception of there were a couple of door dings in the doors. And of course, every time I walked up to that car, I saw those door dings. So obviously I want to avoid that. So after I get this to a certain level, I will put a guide coat and sand it as smooth as I possibly can. All right, so that's all I got. Like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate. And if you don't like what I'm doing, You don't know jack? Bye.